And welcome into CBS Sports HQ. I'm Jacqueline D'Agostino alongside Amanda Guerra. Week 9 of the NFL is in the books. We're getting you ready for Week 10, which means that we have a whole new batch of power rankings from Pete Prisco, which potentially means some more mean tweets that we'll have to dissect as well.
Exactly. Pete Prisco's Power Rankings always entertaining. The Eagles still number 1. They are still undefeated in Pete Prisco's Power Rankings as they get ready for Monday Night Football hosting the Commanders. But what are the chances, the realistic chances, that the Eagles can be just the 3rd undefeated team in the regular season in the past 50 years? Taking a look at Pete Prisco's Power Rankings, where they stand now. Chiefs, Vikings, they both move up a spot, coming in at 2 and 3. The Vikings 7-1, huge game this upcoming weekend in Buffalo. Bills dropping 2 spots after they lose to the Jets, as do the Titans after they lost to the Chiefs. Taking a look at 11 through 20, no movement here whatsoever, except the Browns. Pete has them moving up 2 spots to number 19 there. They had a bye this past weekend after beating the Bengals back on October 31st, but getting ready for a tough road test down in Miami on Sunday. And 21 through 32, we have both the biggest riser and fallers in this category. They played one another. Lions jumping up 4 spots to number 27 after beating the Packers. The Packers are the biggest faller, dropping 9 spots to number 28. Packers now 5 losses in a row, with Aaron Rodgers throwing 3 picks in that last game. So let's welcome in Pete Prisco, also Charles Davis, to talk about Pete Prisco's latest power rankings here. Pete, I'm going to start with you. Let's start with the Eagles and Jalen Hurts. 8-0 right now. Realistic chances they could actually go undefeated the rest of the season. What do you think?
No, it's not happening. What are we, midway through the season? And I'm going to make that declaration right now. The Eagles will not go undefeated. This league is so crazy and so wild week in and week out. At some point, even against a team that might not be as good as them, they're going to stumble and lose a game. And they still have to go to Dallas and play the Cowboys later in the year as well. So, no, I don't think they're going undefeated. I think those 1972 Miami Dolphins will be popping champagne again later on in the season.
Hey, Pete, look, I agree totally with that. This feels like Pete Rose chasing Joe DiMaggio to get to the 56 games. And you got, remember how the pressure mounted. Can you imagine what it would be like in this day and age with how the media follows it? I think the guys from the 72 Dolphins team who have the champagne on ice and waiting for the bubble to burst and they can celebrate, I don't think they have much to worry about. And I'm going to add one other thing. Do you really want to be undefeated and have to carry that with you and carry that all the way through the playoffs? The Patriots gave it a heck of a shot. And the crazy part was they faced the Giants in the last game of the regular season. Giants were good. They were in. But you remember Tom Coughlin made that decision to play to win, play his starters, play all the way through. I think that had a big bearing on them meeting again in the Super Bowl, where the Giants felt like we lost that regular season matchup, but we learned a lot in that game. And we feel good going forward. Sometimes that loss early sets you up for the big win later. I don't think the Eagles are even that concerned about going undefeated. They just want to play well throughout and be healthy when they hit the playoffs.
You mentioned the 1972 Dolphins team to go perfect all the way through. And then, of course, the Patriots. Charles, as you mentioned, back in 2007, but ultimately losing to the Giants there. All right, let's talk about Josh Allen dealing with this elbow injury ahead of their big game. Bills hosting the 7-1 Vikings. We saw Kirk Cousins and all the ice there. Charles, when it comes to Josh Allen, though, what is your concern level with this injury?
It's really high, whatever the DEFCON. I can't remember if it's DEFCON 5 is the worst or 1 is the worst, because 4 games is a long time ago for a guy like me. But it is very concerning for this reason. He is their team in so many ways because of how he unleashes what's around him. Because of him, they have not worried as much about, quote unquote, running the football and being that type of a team you would expect in Buffalo in December and January, where you would beat people up in the run game. They're not as worried about it because Josh Allen has been their short yardage runner. The other part is because of that big arm, those big shots downfield to Stephon Diggs, the go balls to Gabe Davis, they're available. Case Keenum is more than capable of running this team, but you lose the run game from the quarterback. You lose the short yardage running from a power back because you don't have it on the roster now. You lose the big plays downfield. Case Keenum is more of a dart thrower. And for those who say, oh, well, don't worry about the weather, Case played in Minnesota. Remember, Minnesota's a dome team now. All right, so it's not the same. He didn't play in that type of a weather and doesn't have the big arm Josh has. So that is a big concern. And Pete, I don't know about you. I'm not a doctor. I won't play one on TV. But when I hear UCL, I hear that a lot with pitchers and Tommy John surgeries. That really concerns me.
Yeah, it's very concerning. And when you mentioned Tommy John and you're a thrower of the ball, that's a major concern. And the Buffalo Bills would be done. Okay, I'm going to say it right now. If Josh Allen is done, the Bills are done. It's that simple. They're not the same team without him. Could they still make the playoffs? Maybe, but they're not going into the postseason and winning games without Josh Allen. I love Case Keenum as a backup, but he isn't Josh Allen. So if that's a major injury, goodbye Bills.
Pete, really quickly, when it comes to your power rankings, let me ask you this. So AFC East, look, every team is above 500. That's the only division where that's happening right now. You had the Bills dropping 2 spots in your power rankings to number 4. The Dolphins move up a spot after beating the Bears. You have the Jets and Patriots staying put despite the Jets beating the Bills. How come we didn't see any movement for the Jets in your power rankings?
Well, I think when you look at the teams above them, I think they're better than the Jets. And look, I'm not going to take anything away from the Jets. I'm not Brady Quinn. I'm not going to blast the Jets because every time you blast the Jets cult comes out from being high. They were been hiding since Joe Namath was around, but they show back up and now again. So I'm not going to blast the Jets. I respect the Jets. I respect the job Robert Saleh's done. But come on, they were coming off a game where Zach Wilson was horrible 2 weeks ago. He was better this week, but you look at the teams above them. One of those teams that's above them, the New England Patriots, who beat them 2 weeks ago. So you got to look at things like that. I like the Jets. I like where they're headed. I think the defense is phenomenal. But come on, give me a break.
Hey, Pete, be careful out there. Fireman Ed is looking for you right now. J-E-T-S, Jets. I want to blast you myself, but I think your point is valid. 2 weeks ago, New England beat the Jets in a prove-it game for the Jets. That prove it was delayed a week. And remember, a couple of seasons ago, that prove it game was Buffalo beating New England at home when Justin Zimmer knocked the ball to Cam. Come on. You know the big quarterback, Cam. Anyway, out of Cam's hands, we'll get it in a minute.
Cam Newton?
Cam Newton, thank you very much. Sorry how quickly I forget. Knocked out of Cam Newton's hands late. Otherwise, New England probably beats the Bills in Buffalo. But that's the hurdle you have to get over in the AFC East. The Jets got it against Buffalo, didn't get against New England. I'm not blasting you for not raising them in the rankings, Pete.
Charles, let me ask you this. Look, we saw the Ravens. I tried to stay up for the whole game, and it wasn't.
You didn't do it?
I know. I went to bed. There was no reason to stay up for that. Look, they move up a spot.
I thought you were a football person. Come on.
I know. How much confidence do you have? Look, the Ravens are reversing course right now. They're starting to look better and better. And the Ravens moving through the second half of the season into the postseason. How do you feel about them, Charles?
I like them a lot. I need to see them healthy. Because as well as they are playing right now, and they're starting to get some people back, right? Tyus Bowser came back off the Achilles, and he went from 0 to 100 last night in a big way. Roquan Smith fit in like hand in glove, which is no surprise because if there was ever a player who was built to play like a Raven, it's Roquan Smith, and he just fit in seamlessly into that defense. At some point, David Ojabo, the rookie out of Michigan, is going to be healthy and come out and play and help Odafe Owe on the other side. They're going to get some people, all right? And on defense, I'm not worried about them at all. Can Mark Andrews come back and be fully healthy? Will they get J.K. Dobbins back at any point, although Kenyon Drake is running the ball well? They're not going to have Rashad Bateman back, so I don't know where the plays are going to come from on the perimeter. So that's what's going to be interesting for me. But right now, that Ravens team, oh yeah, they are fitting in perfectly into their organizational structure, their culture. They are playing like a Raven. And those early season defeats where they gave up leads, they feel like that was a long time ago right now. That defense is now closing the door when they do get the lead.
Yeah, that's the biggest difference, Charles. You know, offensively, they're missing guys, but they can still make things happen with Lamar Jackson. But the defense has taken big strides forward, particularly in the secondary. That's the most important thing. And you look at that schedule, they're making a run. That's not a very tough schedule. There's not a lot of good teams the rest of the way for the Ravens.
Yeah, and you remember how much I love Kyle Hamilton, Pete, in the draft process? You remember how much I just love Kyle Hamilton? He had some early season struggles. He's starting to adapt and come along well, gives them that extra safety back there who can cover people downfield, who can drop in the box and play like a linebacker. Look out the second half of the season. Big number 14, he will really help solidify the back end, I believe.
Keeping an eye on Kyle Hamilton there. Pete Prisco, Charles Davis, hang on just a second. We have much more to get to here with Pete's Power Rankings. Recapping what we have so far in the top 10 from Pete Prisco. By the way, yes, you can find the full list on CBSSports.com. Feel free to fire out some mean tweets to Pete Prisco if you don't agree with anything. Eagles staying put as the number 1 team in the NFL, but both Charles and Pete saying, look, I don't think there is any way they're going to go the rest of the season undefeated. Coming up, Packers officially, they've been dethroned as King of the North, but it's gone from bad to worse and now downright ugly. Can they somehow get on track? We'll talk to Pete and Charles about that next. Let's welcome back in Pete Prisco, Charles Davis here. Packers, 5 losses in a row. Pete, I mentioned that you did have them going to the Super Bowl. I don't think anybody could have foreseen this coming with them. Look, they still have the Cowboys, the Titans, the Eagles, the Bears, the Rams, the Dolphins, the Vikings, the Lions on their schedule there. Any team after you lose to the Lions is kind of terrifying. Pete, what do you make of the Packers? Any chance they can get back on track?
I'll use 2 words. They stink, okay? They're bad. It's a bad football team. I took out the shovel on Sunday. I have a shovel that I keep in the back there for all those moments when it's time to bury a team, and I started digging the hole. I mean, they're ready to go in. They are bad. They can't score points. Rodgers is playing poorly. They have a ton of injuries. Now they lose Rashawn Gary. Aaron Jones is on a boot. The rookie wide receiver Dobbs is in a boot. I mean, Eric Stokes is in a boot. I mean, come on. They're done. They're finished. Dig a hole, throw them in. They're done.
Pete, there are no more boots left in Green Bay. If anyone else gets hurt, they just have to strap it up and go with crutches and not walk. But I'm a little worried about just how easily you have access to that shovel. I'd love to know what else you're using that shovel for, what else you're burying out there. But that's a subject for another day. We'll get to that later. I don't think any of us thought it possible that Green Bay would be out of it at this stage, if only because we didn't see it possible that Minnesota would be 7-1 and sprinting so far out already with a win over Green Bay. This Green Bay defense, look, everyone's going to point the finger at Aaron Rodgers in the offense, and we're going to talk about the receivers, and understandably so. They're beat up a little bit in the offensive line, never got continuity. This defense is supposed to be top 5 preseason in the NFL. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. The injuries are the latest part of it, but they haven't played well throughout. In fact, to me, the signal, Pete, was a Sunday night ago in Buffalo, down multiple scores, and they're running the football. Yeah, they ran for 208 yards, but when you stayed up and watched that game, Amanda, did you really feel that Green Bay was going to get back into it? Buffalo kept looking at each other like, are they just running the football? What is going on here? That's when I knew things were really different in Green Bay. It's almost like, can we run it, make it close, and get out of here? Cosmetically, they did, but I don't think any of us felt like they really were a threat to win that game down the stretch. And that's very unusual when you talk about the Green Bay Packers.
You know, it's bad when you have Lil Wayne now weighing in about Aaron Rodgers, saying that he doesn't think he cares to be there or playing for that matter. Charles, let me ask you this then. When it comes to Aaron Rodgers, when it comes to Green Bay, do we see Aaron Rodgers return? Does he go out like this? How do you fix Green Bay in the offseason?
Yeah, I don't know Lil Wayne at all, and I know he doesn't know me.
Me neither.
Right, and I'm not going to get into anything like that, but I do think it's folly, the idea that Aaron Rodgers doesn't care. I do think it's folly that Aaron Rodgers is not out there competing. He has done that a long time. And don't forget those years where he might have been hurt and came back. Remember the broken collarbone? Came back to help get him to the playoffs when a lot of people said, I don't know if you should play with that. This guy does care and does compete when he's out there. I think a lot of people haven't things over in recent years. I get all of that. But that part is just doesn't make any sense. To your question, wouldn't surprise me a bit if he came back and not want to go out this way, because at this stage now, the changing of teams, it's not as easy. The grass isn't always greener. Yeah, Tom Brady did it and won a Super Bowl. Doesn't look like it's so easy right now in Tampa Bay. I don't know that Aaron Rodgers wants to go out like that. I think he fits well with Matt LaFleur. I think he likes that. He just wants to make sure he gets that offense humming a little bit better and some of these receivers come along.
Somebody asked me the other day, should they sit down Aaron Rodgers? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And I've heard a lot of stupid things said about the National Football League. Are you kidding me? What are you going to do, play Jordan Love? They paid this guy a boatload of money. He's their quarterback. He'll work through it. Look, it's on to next year, but he's got to play. He will play.
Oh, real quick. So that means no shovel for Aaron Rodgers, right, Pete? The shovel is no shovel.
No
for Aaron.
shovel. No shovel for Aaron. The Packers, yes. Aaron Rodgers, no.
Aaron Rodgers, no shovel.
Okay, so the shovel is just for the Packers' hopes and dreams. Aaron Rodgers, though, is still fine here. Hey, really quickly, Pete, let's talk about Justin Fields. Look, lost to the Dolphins, but this is the best we've seen from Justin Fields. We heard Mike McDaniel saying, look, I wanted him to stop scrambling. He wouldn't pay attention to me. Ha ha, very funny. But reality is, this is the Justin Fields we've been waiting to see, Pete.
And you know, everybody pays attention to the running, and that's true. It's a big part of what he does and who he is. But his passing is getting better, and that's the most important thing. Eventually, you got to be able to stand in that pocket and make the throws, and he's getting better at that. When those guys came out, it was Trevor Lawrence 1 for me, Justin Fields 2. You look at it now, I would still take Trevor Lawrence 1, but Justin Fields is a clear number 2 and pushing for number 1. That's how impressed I am with him. I love what he did on Sunday. But again, running for 175 yards doesn't happen all the time. It's an aberration. He's got to still improve in the pocket, and he will.
And Pete, the reason that he's improved in the pocket, in my humble estimation, has been that the running has helped unlock things for him. I do think that Luke Getsy, the first-year coordinator for the Bears who came over from Green Bay, I think he and his offensive staff, as this season has gone on, have adapted and adjusted better with each week with this young quarterback. I think he trusts them now. I think organizationally, they sent him a love letter when they traded for Chase Claypool. I think that having Khalil Herbert and David Montgomery running the football very well week in and week out helps Justin Fields, because now you're throwing much more favorable down and distances, much better throwing lanes to put the ball downfield. And when he takes off and shows that he could possibly get to the perimeter and run it, that typically draws defenders up. Again, better throwing lanes. So when he goes back and play action, the pressure is tamped down. So all of it fits together, and the running is a part of it. But I do agree with you. If anyone thinks we're going to do 176 week in and week out, you're crazy, because that just doesn't happen with quarterbacks in this league. That's why it took so long for him to break, what was it, Kaepernick's record in the regular season? It just doesn't happen. Oh, excuse me, it's Michael Vick's in the regular season. Kaepernick did it in the playoffs against Green Bay. So it just doesn't happen all the time. But that running and the way that Luke Getsy and the offensive staff have started to call those runs and give him that freedom, where you see the green grass go, yeah, I think that's helped his passing downfield in a big way.
Bears hosting the Lions on Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock Eastern. We will have picks from Pete and Brady on that game and every game this weekend in the NFL. Guys, hang on just a second here. Do want to mention, make sure to watch Inside the NFL exclusively on Paramount Plus. New episodes every single Tuesday from all those guys. Look at those handsome faces. You want to watch.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.